Chongqing, China is by some definitions the largest city in the world. Over the past few years, this city has completely blown up on social media, with people calling it the Cyberpunk city of China. Even though I've lived in China for over 20 years, surprisingly I've never been to Chongqing. I was super excited to visit for the very first time. But after spending a few days in this mega city, I can't help but wonder, is this the most overrated city in all of China? Join me on this 3-day trip and let's find out. When you're in Chongqing, to experience the very local atmosphere, you gotta have a meal by the side of the street. This type of noodles is called Bandengmian. Banden literally means little stool. So usually, you're supposed to just sit on the street, use the big stool as the table, and you sit on the little stool to eat. Unfortunately, all the stools are taken, so we're on a regular table, but it's still outdoors, right in the city, right next to the street, in this very local atmosphere. This place really is so popular. It's nearly 2 o'clock already, and you still have to wait in line for almost 30 minutes in order to get your food. The noodles are their most popular dish, so it takes the longest time to arrive. Before that, we got some xiaomai. It looks pretty different from the Cantonese xiaomai I'm used to. There seems to be more folds on top as well. Here, you're supposed to dip the xiaomai in chili sauce.
作为广东人，我没有吃过蘸辣椒的烧麦。
This one is a pork and leek xiaomai. There's so much filling inside and the wrapper is super thin as well. Really good. This place is so extremely popular. After waiting for almost 40 minutes, our food is finally here. We got their famous wanzamian and their hongyao. Wanzamian is basically noodles with peas on top and also some minced meat. The one here is a pea puree rather than the solid peas we had in Chengdu. So I think when you mix the noodles together, it becomes more of a sauce. And it's always served in one of these big bowls. The portion size is quite big actually. When we mix it together, it does feel very mushy because of the peas. The wando on top really does make the sauce extra thick. It's gooey, it's spicy. Just look at that.
我觉得饱腹感蛮强的，它虽然只给我们2两面。
Our second dish, the Lao Ma Chao Shou. Ma in Chinese means numbing, so I bet this dish has a lot of Sichuan peppercorns inside. When we ordered the dish, we got the least spicy version, but it still looks pretty red and hot. Anyways, let's try one of these dumplings. The dumpling skin here is quite firm. It doesn't just completely fall apart. And as you can see, even though this broth is really red, it's actually not spicy. It really is still the numbing sensation that stands out. This restaurant we ate at is called Afu Bandengmian. Even though the food here is really delicious, I don't think I will want to wait 40 minutes for street food again. I think in Chongqing, all these dishes are so common. Of course, there's some differentiation. I don't think there's too much of a difference. In theory, you don't necessarily have to go to the most popular one and it would still be delicious. Okay, we are done with the meal. Now let's go explore more of Chongqing. This peninsula that the main city center of Chongqing is located on is super hilly. That's why Chongqing is also known as the mountain city. When walking on the street, you're constantly going uphill, downhill, all over again. We made our way to Shancheng Alley, and this area really is a great representation of how hilly Chongqing is. I thought we were walking on ground level, but then right at the edge of this street, you're actually very high up, sort of on a cliff, and this entire shopping street is on this cliff edge. If you want to buy postcards in China, one of the best places to come to is this chain store called Mao de Tiangong. They have it in many major cities across China. And of course, they also have it in Chongqing. We're here at the one inside the Shancheng Alley. Even though it's extremely hazy in Chongqing, we can still clearly see all the layers of this city. Large concrete jungle metropolises are common in China, but this one feels especially three-dimensional. Street level is all relative, and you never really know how high up you are. My goodness, wintertime is supposed to be low season in Chongqing. If this is what low season looks like, I can't imagine what high season looks like. After walking down from Shancheng and reaching the relative street level, we made our way to a popular site nearby. Another famous area in Chongqing is called Shibati. It's basically this very highly commercialized shopping street that goes up a hill, goes up many of these steps. Honestly, the feeling of this place is very similar to Shancheng. It's all the same shops and it's just as crowded. But because Shibati, there's no beautiful view on the outside, so if you have limited time in Chongqing, I don't recommend coming here. When you're in Chongqing, you gotta try one of China's most famous milk tea shops. It's called Chayan Yueshe. It's not actually from Chongqing, it's from Changsha, but they only have it in very few cities within China. But it's so popular in Changsha that everyone knows about this store. And here in Chongqing, it's extremely popular as well. Look at this line. And today they also have a buy one, get one free offer. I think that's why there's so many people lining up. It's not bubble tea, it's just milk tea because there's no toppings inside. I never had it before. Let's try it. That tea is really nice. It's not bitter, but it's not that sweet either, even with the cream on top. I know there are people in this world that don't actually like boba. When they drink milk tea, they prefer to have no toppings. I'm not one of those people, but if you are one of those people, Chayan Yueshe is a great tea shop for you here in China. Good morning from a very gloomy Chongqing. A recent 2023 statistic says that in Chongqing during the winter months, you only get sunshine around 8% of the time. I mean, that is just extremely low. I'm not sure how accurate this stat is. Judging by the weather in the past 2 days we've been here, I'd believe it. But it's okay, at least during the winter time in Chongqing, there's one activity that will definitely cheer you up, to have some Mala Hotpot. This is the hot pot place we're gonna go to. It really doesn't seem like a place that will have a hot pot restaurant. This hot pot place is located inside a residential building. The hot pot is here, and when she put it on the table, oh my god, that aroma just blasts you in the face. It smells so good. This really is insane. I don't think I've ever seen a hot pot that's this big before. And it's divided into 9 sections so you don't lose your food. And each plate of ingredient is actually not that big, so you can order different varieties. We got some beef, some pork, and some tripe. I'm so excited to dig in. I've never had authentic Chongqing hot pot before, so this will be a first for me as well. I got my first piece of meat. I'm gonna try it without the sauce first. Here goes, Chongqing hot pot. That is simply amazing. You can taste that buttery coating on the meat. And even though it's not the most tender piece of meat, it's still really delicious, especially just soaking all that Sichuan peppercorn and spiciness into it. When in Chongqing, I think it's always a smart decision not to order the spiciest one. We got a slightly lower spicy level, and I think it's perfect. And now my favorite hot pot ingredient, tripe. You gotta order tripe when you have Mala hot pot. When you cook the tripe, you only need to cook it for like 10 seconds or so. Now I'm gonna try it with this oily dipping sauce. In Chongqing, the dipping sauce is very simple. There's only 3 ingredients: garlic, cilantro, and dipping oil. It's not complicated because you want that fragrant, spicy flavor to come out. That is awesome, that bouncy, a little bit crunchy texture. And because tripe has so many different folds in it, it soaks up the flavor really well. Now let's try the tender beef. Wow, you barely have to chew that beef. Another must-order item is duck blood. These are the fresher type of duck blood, so it's very, very soft. Wow. When you bite into it, it kind of just feels like a soup flowing into your mouth, even though it's like this coagulated blood. And it captures all that buttery, spicy, oily goodness. If you're eating hot pot or spicy food and think it's too overwhelming, something great to go with it is Wang Lao tea, which is like a herbal tea. It's supposed to help cut down the spiciness. We're gonna add in some of this shrimp, Xiahaoli. Hot pot and spicy food really is addictive. We've been having it for the past like 5 days already. I can't get enough of it. It's probably not the best type of meal for your health, but I mean, we're in Chongqing, we gotta have it. After your meal, you gotta get a bingfen for dessert. It's basically a jelly to cool down your mouth, cool down your body. This place might not be the most crazy hot pot restaurant in terms of atmosphere, but I think the food is really good.
在这些居民楼里的小店又美味又便宜，在冬天吃又非常的爽。
Getting lost in Chongqing and taking the wrong staircase is not a good mistake to make. Jeez, does this mean we have to climb all the way back up again? No. We have made our way to Baixiangju, which is actually a residential building, but it has turned into a very popular tourist attraction in Chongqing. It's still really cool that these old residential buildings that look like they're about to fall apart can be repurposed into tourist sites with souvenir shops, coffee shops, and just artistic little shops. Built in the 90s as a regular residential building, it went viral in China because it perfectly captures the essence of Chongqing. The entire structure is like a multi-level maze. Here in Chongqing, a fun game to play is guess what floor you're on, because when you think you're on the street level or the ground floor, you're not actually on the ground floor. For example, guess what floor we're on right now? No, we are not on the ground floor. This is actually the 10th story of a residential building. Baixiangju is a perfect place to see many of the city's landmarks, such as the iconic Dongshuimen Bridge, Raffles City, and of course the Yangtze River. The cableway also seems like a great place to see the bridge and the river, but we heard it's always packed and you can be lining up for more than 1 hour. So since the weather isn't great, we'll skip it on this trip. But we'll still head over to the other side of the river to visit 2 very popular districts. We took the metro across the bridge and now we've made it over to Longmenhao. We're right next to the giant bridge that we just took the metro from. This area is basically a commercial street, but it's set in these old buildings on a hill, so it gives it a really cool aesthetic. It's just a shame that the weather is like this right now. It must be so great when there's clear blue sky. So maybe we'll stay here until nighttime and see how that looks. This place used to house many foreign consulates, for example, the Italian consulate and the US consulate. But now, of course, they're all just restaurants and shops. The bridge view will definitely be more spectacular at night, so we're gonna come back here later. For now, let's head to a different old street nearby, Xiahaoli. Even though they're right next to each other, I think Xiahaoli is much more interesting than Longmenhao. But the slight issue here is that it's really like walking through a maze. There are many dessert shops, cafes, souvenir shops, and of course, lots of photo spots as well. Back in the Qing dynasty, Xiahaoli was a thriving hub on the Yangtze River, but it slowly declined over the years. Similar to Longmenhao, many of its historical buildings had fallen into disrepair. Only in the past decade or so has this area been revitalized into the artistic community it is today. You can think of it as a modern old street that blends historical and new. I don't know why there is a Kumamon here in Chongqing. For those who don't know, this bear is the mascot of Kumamoto City in Japan. Apparently one day there was a huge flood in Chongqing, and this Kumamon over here was actually flushed away with the flood, and it went down this river to different cities, and people were looking for this Kumamon. Later on, he was brought back on a ferry. So this is the Kumamon that survived a flood. It is completely dark now. We made it back to Longmenhao, and we're waiting for the bridge to light up. It's supposed to light up at 7:30 during the winter time, and this should be an amazing cityscape view. In the daytime, it's all gloomy and cloudy, but at nighttime when it lights up, hopefully there will be some color. At nighttime, the ropeway over there turns into a little box, and because you cannot see the rope at night, it just seems like a box floating in midair across the river. It's quite funny. Today is our last day in Chongqing, and we're gonna hit up a few more viral locations. We'll start with what might be the most overrated place in all of Chongqing. But since I haven't seen it in real life before, why not check it out? Today we have arrived at the very viral light rail station, Liziba. This is the station I'm sure you've seen on Instagram or TikTok of the train going through the building. So you might be wondering, what came first, the building or the light rail station? Actually, it was built at the same time. In 1998, Chongqing was building their Metro Line 2, and they wanted to build a station here at Liziba. But at the same time, there was a developer that wanted to build a residential building here. So is the building gonna make way for the light rail, or is the light rail gonna make way for the building? In the end, they thought of the genius compromise to have the light rail go through the building. And the result is this station at Liziba. So the light rail is actually on the 8th floor of this building, and everything from the 9th floor and above is the residential area. And because this station is so unique, it has become a super popular destination here in Chongqing. Look at all these people here just waiting for the train to come. Even though Liziba has an interesting story, and it's pretty cool to see the train pass through a couple of times, it's really only worth checking out for a few minutes. I feel like this is one of the things where seeing it online is about the same as seeing it in real life. If you want to capture some cool footage of the Chongqing light rail, I think there's a better spot, and I'll show you around sunset. But for now, let's head somewhere else. And of course, to get back up to the light rail station, you gotta take the escalator up 8 floors. Today, the weather in Chongqing got slightly better. We can actually see the sun, even though it's still quite hazy. Since there's actually some sunshine, it's a great time to find somewhere outdoors to walk around. So we decided to come to the Chongqing Zoo. After seeing the pandas in Chengdu, I think Rika is now obsessed with pandas, so she wants to go see them again in Chongqing.
我们就跟这边的小孩的活动一样，但是这边的熊猫不一样呢，它应该有鱼可、鱼爱、四喜丸子，各种的熊猫。
It only costs 25 yuan to visit, so why not? Cue the montage of all the pandas. These pandas have a house, a car, unlimited food. I don't even have these things.
为什么熊在现实中不像 teddy bear 一样？但是熊猫就好可爱呀，软萌软萌的。
After a short trip to the zoo, it's time to head back to the city center. Other than Liziba station, the Chongqing Metro is so famous because it winds along the mountain's edge. And personally, I think these views are much more unique than Liziba. You can see this anywhere on line 2 next to the Jialing River. But the best spot is at Zhenjiayan station. The sun has set and we made it over to the Jiefangbei area of Chongqing. Jiefangbei literally means the Liberation Monument. The area surrounding the monument is one of the busiest CBDs and walking streets in Chongqing. Tonight, we're here to try a special dessert. Chongqing is such a spice-obsessed city that they even have to put hot chili oil on top of an ice cream. I really don't know how this is gonna taste. Just a very confusing dessert to me. Okay, let's try the ice cream. I'm just gonna bite into the very top of it. You won't feel like it's too spicy because you've got the sugary ice cream to bring down the spice level. At the same time, you won't feel like the ice cream is too cold or too sweet because you got the chili sauce. The two things kind of work in harmony with each other. It's so strange yet so good. I like it. There's one more place we have to visit in Chongqing, Hongyadong. But since Hongyadong is such a commercialized area, the best place to look at is not at Hongyadong itself, but instead across the river near the Opera House. So we're gonna head over there right now. A view like this is why people consider Chongqing the cyberpunk city of China. However, looking back on this trip, I can't help but feel a bit conflicted. I think the social media buzz around Chongqing made it too viral for its own good. As someone visiting for the first time, the mountain-like city is still spectacular and unique. But as you can probably tell, many of the areas just made me want to leave. Places like Shibati, Jiefangbei, and Liziba were all too overwhelming and crowded, and this is during low season. I don't think I'd go again, even if it's not busy. And the most touristy of them all, Hongyadong, I didn't even want to step inside, which is why we're here on the other side of the river. For someone like Rika who visited Chongqing 10 years ago before all the social media buzz, she said the city was infinitely better back then, when everything still had that simple beauty. But in the end, commercialization is inevitable. My favorite things about Chongqing are not the cyberpunk vibe or the viral spots, but instead the places that feel more intimate and mundane. The small hotpot restaurant tucked inside a residential building. The light rail winding through the trees and over the bridges. And of course, the old traditional neighborhoods. I'm glad that the charm of Chongqing from the past has not been completely erased.